This is Corrina from Soundiron, and today I'll be sharing with you a composition that I made using the Ancient Greek Percussions. Let's take a listen to what it sounds like. I actually got the idea for making this song starting with this track right here called the Ambigonon 17. So I was just really taken by that particular sample because there was just so much really subtle but intricate textures that were going on within that ambience. And it just opened up a lot of visual imagination, but also sonic imagination of where it could go. And so I just kind of set it down as a drone to be the backbone for the entire track. So the interesting thing about the Ambigonon 17 for me was that the higher you went, the more frenetic the energy got. I was just playing it down here, but then I noticed how much more energetic it got when I played up here. The textures changed, everything pitched up. It just gave a whole different dimension, yet still similar enough so that they go well together. And so I decided to layer a lower version and a higher version together to make this. And the way I determined when to play and when not to play was I kind of let the drone itself dictate my next move with the higher one. And so when I heard different swells, I reacted accordingly. I just sort of flowed with it and let it be a part of the composition just as I was making my decisions. And so the next one actually was also inspired by Ambigonon 17's drone and sort of random but looping ambience, which is I used the Ambigonon 1. I heard this like whale sound within. I'm going to try to find it for you guys, but there's this whale sound that comes out every now and then, kind of in the left side. Let me just try to find it for you. So right there towards the tail end, there was like some like almost like wind but whale-ish sound that came out of the left side. So I really liked that. I thought it was such a nice tonal addition that I really want to accentuate it. So I decided to kind of patch it up in a different pad using Ambigonon 1. I definitely played with it because I wanted it to really give this like ebb and flow kind of feeling as if it was coming in and out of the ambience, just kind of interacting again with that entire environment. And so for me, what I did was I used microshift from Sound Toys to give it a slight more chorusy effect. I put on Valhalla delay to just get it like bouncing around a little bit more in the headphones. I threw in a panner just to give it that stereo and that movement. And then on this one at least, I automated an auto filter so it slowly opens up as the pad progresses. And on top of that, I went into the MIDI editor here and I went to the MIDI control and I went to pitch bend. And towards the end of the pad, I detuned it down and then came back up a little bit. And so with this track, I kind of had like a interesting textural rhythmic foundation that I really liked. And so the next part for me was more so about coloring within the lines. The mute close is kind of like almost like a sharp slide. So it sounds like this. It's like a shaker, I guess. And I kind of layered it with this somewhat open hi-hat sound. They kind of sound like chains, just like a really like filtered chain, but I really like that feeling of like a smatter, almost like a little echo smatter. And I went in and added one more Sistrum soft. So it's the same like smattering, but in a lower one. So it actually slows it down and makes it deeper, which gives it a little bit more frequency depth. So this is the three of them kind of put together. It just adds a thickness to the sound so that it doesn't just feel like one-dimensional. Sometimes I'm putting in a low one, sometimes I'm not. I'm kind of just mixing and matching, going by feel for the most part, to see what fits in the context. Just a lot of experimenting, trying it, deleting here and there. Another texture I wanted to use was sort of like in this, like measures 17 through 21 and measures 29 through 33. It's kind of like the more high intensity peaks because the frenetic energy is at its highest note. And so I kind of wanted to accentuate it. I wanted to elevate that. And I did that sort of by adding another extra frenetic help from Sistrum Hard, which sounds like this. And then the next part was, I thought, okay, we have a lot of textures, we have a lot of rattles, we have a lot of shaking. I need a little bit more harmony and a little bit more tonal backing and support. I mixed Kymbalon Big with Ambigonon 1 to give it that, the ambience itself gives it that tone, but the Kymbalon gives it that really nice toll bell sound. So this is what it sounds like. I played it in octaves to give it a little bit more height and depth. So the Ambigonon is the one that's giving it that little like tapping sound the more you hold it. And it's actually a swell sort of pad. And so during this one part where it's a lot of like swirling from Ambigonon 1 up above with that whale call, I wanted to, like help it a little bit. So I also held out and sustained that MIDI note just to give it that extra oomph. And up top, actually, there's this FX preset that I used called Deep Wells, which is a mixture of Tympanon 22 and Tympanon Zill. I noticed that without the bass notes, it was a little bit hard to get a sense of where the one was or where the downbeat was, just because there's just so much going on, you can't really focus. And so this bass note served as a really great way to ground everything. And lastly, I just put in a little bit of brown noise to give it a little bit of extra swirl. And so I just put Sound Toys' Phase Mistress, and I mixed that with Pan Man, which is also by Sound Toys. Like by itself, it just sounds like air. But you can kind of hear there's like a high pitch, like bending up and down, going up and down. That's thanks to Phase Mistress. It kind of phases it a little bit, and so it creates overtones that actually kind of harmonize with the rest of the track. Thank you for watching. I hope this was informative on the composition process. Hopefully, it will inspire you to try new things with your own compositions or anything of the sort. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you in the next one.